Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today, I'm coming at you with wet hair right now because I just received a very exciting package that is the whole theme of this video. So, I'm really excited and I thought I would open it with you. So today, we're going to be answering the question, does my childhood favorite, the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, hold up? My prediction is that yes, I will still love it, it still holds up, and it's still a wonderful series. Anything less than that and I'll be sorely disappointed, but I'm pretty sure I'm still gonna love it. So, let's open it. So I ordered this last night and it had free overnight shipping. So, how exciting is that? Okay, look at it. I love the way the spines line up. This is what it looks like. I love that these are the classic covers, I think. And it says that it has a poster in it. So that's fun. So, if you don't know, Percy Jackson and the Olympians follows our main character, Percy Jackson, who is a teenage boy who has always struggled in school, struggled with behavioral issues, and he discovers that it is because he is a demigod. He is half god, half human. And that his father is Poseidon. And he goes to a camp called Camp Half-Blood, where demigods, just like him, learn how to fight and be warriors and survive. And it is so fun. There's lots of quests. There's like a whole overarching theme for the entire series, but then each book kind of has its own specific quests, which is always really fun. The first one, let's see if I can even get it out of the box. Okay, well that was in it. That's cool. Still can't get the book out though. Okay, this is embarrassing. I got it. This is the first one. The first one is called The Lightning Thief. That's what the cover looks like. Very exciting. So, I'm so excited to read this. I'm going to read this series. I'm going to check in with you periodically, tell you how it's going. There's a lot of things I really don't remember. Now, I've read this series a lot of times. I remember having a conversation with my mom when I was like, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12, and telling her that I was really excited because I was reading Percy Jackson again and it would be my 10th time reading it all the way through. So, I've read it a lot, but my memory is bad. I don't have very good memory, and so I don't really remember a lot of what happens. I remember a lot of the major plot points, but I think that there's going to be a lot of nuance that surprises me and that I don't remember a lot of the details. So I'm really excited. You know, I guess that's a plus of having really bad memory, is that I'm surprised when I reread books because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, I'm going to start with Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, #1, and I think I'll probably check in with you when I finish it, maybe partway through, we'll see. There are 5 books in this series, so I don't want to make this video too long by checking in, you know, too often while reading the books, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, in this one we are setting up the story. This is when he first is introduced to the fact that he's a demigod, and that when he first goes to Camp Half-Blood. And the main story in this one is that Zeus's master lightning bolt has been stolen and he is the prime suspect. So he has to go on a quest with his new friends to figure out who really stole it and what's going on. So yeah, I'm very excited and I will check in with you later. Okay, hi. So I finished The Lightning Thief a few days ago, and I started The Sea of Monsters, which is book number 2. We'll get to this in a second. And then I was struck down by a massive migraine attack that lasted like 4 days and made me have contractions and was just awful in every single way. So, it's been a minute since I've been able to just sit down and read, but I thought I would tell you about Lightning Thief. We'll do a little quick check-in. This is everything I remembered it to be in the best way. I really enjoyed it. The best thing I think about these books, and I think this will hold true, we can check in later and see if it is still holding true, but I'm sure it will, is that the narrative voice of Percy is so strong. He is such a unique and definable character that it makes it really, really interesting and easy to read from because you know who he is. And even though you are learning things about him, his personality is so defined. And I think that's something that Rick Riordan does really, really well in his writing. I've read a lot of his other books. And he just does that really well. He has very well-defined characters. And so I think that's one of the biggest strengths of this book and of the entire series, as well as the next sequel series, which is The Heroes of Olympus. There was nothing in this book that shocked me because I remembered most of the details from it. And we'll see if, sometimes I feel like when I reread series that I've really loved, like for example, Harry Potter, I know exactly what happens in the first one. And nothing surprises me, but then the further along into the series I get, I'm like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. So it'll be interesting to see at what point in the series out of the 5 books I'm like, oh yeah, who knew? But it didn't happen in this one, which is totally fine, because I still really loved reading it. This is, what is this? Is this middle grade or is it YA? It might be middle grade. But I think this is something that I've briefly talked about. I hate it when people rate middle grade or YA in the same way as adult books, in the sense of they're like, it was too immature, or the narrator's voice sounded too young, or something like that. Because that happens sometimes, where they're like, oh, this is unrealistic. And it's like, well, yeah, you're reading a middle grade fantasy, so what were you expecting to be realistic about it? But I don't think that it's fair to assume that if something is middle grade or YA, that the writing quality should be lower, because that's not true. You can still have really wonderfully high quality written content that is middle grade or YA, and I think this is it. This is really well written, but it's not adult, and that's totally fine. And I think that that's something that is really awesome about it. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. Just started reading The Sea of Monsters. I did forget about one of the characters in this. So I guess the second book is when I'm forgetting things already and remembering them for the first time. Because I did forget that there is a new character in here that you learn things about. This one, you are following Percy. Once again, you're following him in all of them. And his year at school has gone really well. He hasn't had any attacks from monsters. He hasn't gotten in fights. He's just doing well in school till the last day, of course. And then on the last day of school, he is attacked by a group of cannibals, and his friend Annabeth shows up to help him out, and she lets him know that the borders that protect Camp Half-Blood have been poisoned by a mysterious enemy. And basically they have to figure out who it is and what's going on, and can they save Camp Half-Blood. So yeah. Also, my bookmark is the Eye of Sauron. So just throwing that out there. That's where we're at. I'll let you know probably when I finish. This one is shorter than the first one, I think. Let's see. It's a little bit shorter than the first one. So I think I'll be able to read it pretty fast. And I'll check in with you at that point. Hi, it's the next day. And I have finished The Sea Monsters and the Titan's Curse. So let's talk about Sea of Monsters first. So in this one, I think I already explained it to you. Did I? I don't know. Basically that Camp Half-Blood has been attacked, and then they have to go to the Sea of Monsters to try and figure it out. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to spoil something. Yeah, so they have to try and heal Camp Half-Blood because it has been poisoned. So that's what happens in this one. This one is a lot shorter, and it did feel a little bit more fillery to me, but not enough that it was like annoying. Still super fun to read, still super exciting. There was lots of stuff in here that I didn't remember, namely the twist at the end. I knew that it happened, but I didn't remember that it happened this soon. So overall, I just enjoyed it. And then the Titan's Curse, this one is about, oh yeah, Grover finds 2 half-bloods in one place and sends out a warning call. Percy and Annabeth go to help him, and then it's a trap by the Titans, and they have to kind of go on a quest, and they get a prophecy about a Titan's curse, and they have to go on a quest and try to, once again, save each other, help things. These both went really well. I really like both of them. Like I said, this series really is as good as I remember it being. I am going to talk about spoilers. So I'm going to put spoilers up on the screen. I'm going to talk about spoilers for both of these books. That way I can go a little bit more in depth. But if you don't want to hear spoilers, you can skip ahead to this time code. I will put it on the screen. And like I said, I will put spoilers on the screen when I'm talking about spoilers. So, I totally forgot that Talia comes back in this one. She is Zeus's daughter that was trapped in the tree at Camp Half-Blood. And when they get the golden fleece, that's what they're doing in this one, they're trying to get the golden fleece, it heals the poison and heals her. And then I also didn't remember that she joins the Hunters of Artemis in this one. I feel like I knew that that happened, but I guess I forgot about it. So I was like, oh yeah! I think the dynamic too between Luke and Annabeth and Percy is done really, really well, in the sense that Annabeth is still kind of, I don't think that Annabeth is in love with Luke, but I think that she used to be, and she just looked up to him so much because he helped save her when she was a kid, that she still has so much respect and adoration and love for him as a person, but obviously he has, you know, fallen into Cronus's evil ways, and I just really like the way that it's explored with Percy's jealousy of that. Because obviously Percy's like an Annabeth, you know, that's becoming more and more evident, and will continue to be more evident as the books goes on. But I think that the jealousy aspect is done well, where Percy is realizing that he's jealous, kind of as we are realizing that he's jealous. And so I thought that that was a lot of fun. I also liked the talk about Pan. Grover is looking for the god Pan, wild god Pan. And I just think it's fun to follow that part of it. I kind of forgot, like, about his quest for Pan, I guess, and I do like that Grover gets kind of that moment as well. So yeah, those are like my spoilery thoughts. So, the 4th book is the Battle of the Labyrinth. I remember this being, like, my favorite one, I feel like, or one of my favorites. So I'm excited to read this one again because, like I said, I remember it being one of my favorites, and I know that one of the characters that we are introduced to in the 3rd one is in this one and is an important part of this one. It becomes a really important part of the story, so I'm excited to see her again. And this one is about how the war between Olympus and the Titans is drawing near. You know, that's what we've been kind of building up to in the first 3 books, and it's starting to really, really get there. Camp Half-Blood is becoming more vulnerable, and Kronos is going to start attacking. And so Percy and his friends have to go through the labyrinth. And I just remember it being really intense and, like, really good stuff happening in this one. So yeah, I think I'm gonna jump into this one. I still have, like, probably a solid 45-ish minutes till I have to go get my husband from work, and I just laid my daughter down for a nap, so we'll see if she naps that entire time. I'm sure she will. So we'll see how much of it I can get finished, because I've read both of these during her morning nap. So maybe I can get this one in during the afternoon nap, or at least part of it, because it is a little bit longer. Let's see, this one is, I'm trying to not see spoilers. I mean, like, obviously I know what happens because I've read it before, but 361 pages. So a little bit longer. Actually, how long was the Titan's Curse? 312. So they're about the same length, and I read this one completely today. So I'm gonna start on this guy, and then after this we only have one book left to go. It's going by so fast. I'm really enjoying this. Oh, the other thing that I forgot that is really fun is that the books are leading up to Percy's 16th birthday, because, you know, when he turns 16 there's like a prophecy that's involved. So I won't say too much more about that, but I forgot that, and I think that's just like it's fun when books have kind of like a deadline narrative, because it keeps things going and keep things interesting, and then you know that there's a deadline that you have to kind of follow. So yeah, I'm gonna jump into this one, see how far I get before I have to go get my husband from work, and we'll see how it goes. I'm excited. I'm really excited to read this one. It's been quite a minute since I like sat down and did anything for this vlog. I've just been through physical and emotional turmoil since beginning this vlog, not because of the books, just in my own life. And so it kind of went on the back burner a little bit. But I'm here now, and I'm here to tell you about kind of where I've been. I've read 3 books since I last talked to you. And you might be wondering, 3? Aren't there only 2 left in the series? Yes, there are. We'll get there. The Battle of the Labyrinth. This is the 4th book. This one, they are in the labyrinth. It is scary. This is, like I said in the past clip, I was really looking forward to reading this one because I remember it being a lot more intense, and it was. And there were quite a few things that I didn't really remember about it, but I did remember that intensity, and that is something that I really enjoyed. I will say Annabeth's character does get a little bit more catty in this one in certain ways, and in the next one as well. But I do think that the way that it's done is like a pretty accurate portrayal of how a teenage girl tends to act, especially if she likes a boy. I'm like trying to even remember now all of the thoughts that I had. That's kind of bad. Maybe I should have written it down. My brain is kind of mush, being pregnant and having a toddler, and you know, it gets mushy. And I don't remember things very well sometimes. But that's okay. I really enjoyed this one. I think it's really interesting. The whole concept of the labyrinth and finding Daedalus, who created the labyrinth, is really, really interesting to me. And just kind of Daedalus' story in general is really interesting. It's a cool part of Greek myth of this very, very smart man and what he did with his knowledge, for good and for bad. So yeah, that's the Battle of the Labyrinth, the Battle of the Labyrinth. The last book is called The Last Olympian. This one is awesome. This is the final battle. The majority of the book is them actually doing the battle in New York and fighting Cronus's army. So I really like it. This one is very high action. I think though that it just does a really wonderful job of wrapping up the series as a whole, and you still get the satisfaction of seeing the characters grow, but it leaves it a little bit open-ended, which is good because there's a lot more books after this, actually. Yeah, there's some really cool things that happen in this one, but I think it's a really good way to wrap up the series, to do a big battle, but to do it well. And, you know, sometimes with battle scenes, it can get boring, which sounds counterintuitive, but like, if you're just reading like, oh, so-and-so hit so-and-so with a sword, and so-and-so got punched in the face, and so-and-so did this, you know, then it can kind of get a little bit repetitive, and you're like, okay, you know, let's move on here. But what I like about this is that it breaks up the battle scenes really nicely without you feeling bored, and so I think the pacing of this one is really, really well done. So, let's talk about spoilers. I'm going to put spoilers up on the screen. If you don't want to know spoilers, skip ahead to this time code. I almost said time zone. That's not where we're at. Time code. But spoilers, let's talk about it. So, in the Battle of the Labyrinth, I did totally forget that Quintus is Daedalus. I was like, I know there's something going on with Quintus. I know that he's like not quite to be trusted, but I couldn't remember. And I do like that how he comes back at the end and realizes, hey, I did do something bad by working with Kronos, and that he kind of has that redemption arc, a little bit, and I think it's cool for Annabeth to be able to meet this man that she saw as her hero and see that he's not perfect. Which, you know, people always say don't meet your heroes, but that is because nobody is perfect, right? And everybody has flaws. And so I really like the way that that was done, where Annabeth was kind of hit with this realization, like, this guy's not that great. And even though he's a genius and he's so smart and he has come up with these amazing inventions, and that's something to be admired, that doesn't mean you have to admire everything about his personality. And so that's I liked that that lesson was included in there. And then it kind of also hints a little bit at, I think in this one it hints more, or does tell you, I can't remember all the details, I'm sorry about that, that Luke has given up his body for Kronos. And so that's something that's really, really interesting. And then, you know, obviously in The Last Olympian, then we learned that the way he was able to give up his body for Kronos was to dip himself in the river Styx. And I really enjoyed the way that they did that with Percy, and how he also had to dip himself in the river Styx, and kind of going through his thought process of, is this worth it to do it? And having his mother's blessing, and picturing Annabeth pulling him out of the water. Like, what a great moment, you know? What a great moment for these two. It really makes you root for them. And that's why I really love seeing them together, which is why it's a little bit of a pet peeve. Like, not a huge pet peeve, but just kind of like mildly irritating, I guess, to me, that Annabeth is so cold towards Percy, especially when Rachel Elizabeth Dare is around. And like, I understand, she's jealous. She doesn't want Percy to be with her, you know, but obviously Percy's dedication to Annabeth is a lot deeper than I think he even realized himself. And he shares with her, you know, that it was her that helped him get out of the river Styx and stuff. And I think that, I don't know, maybe her attitude could have been a little bit better. But that's like I said, very, very mild irritation. Like, not really anything to dwell on. And then, you know, I do love that at the end Percy turns down immortality and says, hey, this whole war wouldn't have even started if you, as the gods, recognized your children and didn't just push them aside and didn't make people feel less than. And so I do like that kind of overarching theme of, like, you know, you shouldn't put people down. And obviously that's an extreme case. You put people down and it led to a war. So anyway, that's spoilery thoughts for these two. So, you may be thinking, Sandy, you said you read 3 more books, but that's only 2 books, and that's the end of the series, so how did you read another one? Well, I was informed by my dear sister Sabrina that there is a whole other Percy Jackson book that I did not even know about. It came out this year, September. It's called Percy Jackson and the Chalice of the Gods. I'll put the cover, yikes, up here so that you can see what the cover looks like. The cover's pretty cool, I will say. And it is listed as Percy Jackson number 6, which I have a gripe with, but we'll get there. And basically it's following Percy in his senior year of high school, trying to get ready for college. Now, like I said, I bought the box set of these, and I've said this in videos before, and I'll say it again. I am always a fan of going to your library first, especially if it's a new book you haven't read yet. I am not somebody who, I don't love buying books before I read them, because I don't know if I'll like them, and then if I don't like them, then I just have a book that I hate on my shelf, and that just seems like a waste of space and a waste of money. I also don't have a lot of extra money lying around for books. I wish I did. I do. I wish I did. But for me, that makes me more conscious of my book buying process, I guess. And so I was willing to purchase these books because I know I'll read them again in the future, and I want my children to read them, and if my husband ever wants to reread them, he probably won't, but if he ever does, they're available to him, you know what I mean? But like, I want my kids to read these books. I know I still love them. So I knew that I would enjoy having them on my shelves. They'll still get used, you know. But I did not feel the need to go out and buy this new book because I didn't know if I would like it. Spoiler alert, I did not. So, check out your local library. Local libraries have awesome things to offer, and if you look at the Libby app, Libby is amazing. It is an app that you connect your library card to, and then you can have their catalog of ebooks and audiobooks. And that is a wonderful thing. And that's how I read, I would say 99% of the books that I read. I read 76 books this year up until this point, and seriously, probably 99% of them were from Libby. And I think that's just a wonderful way to do it, and it helps you be more conscious of how you're spending your money. And then if you hate the book, no harm, no foul. You didn't spend any money on it. You just wasted time. Or you didn't, because maybe you still learned something, even if you didn't like the book. All that to say, that was a lot, sorry. This book was available for me through Libby immediately as an audiobook, which is really awesome. And so that's how I read it. So I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was well done, but I will say I didn't really love the narrator just because the voices he used felt kind of cartoony to me, which, like, no shade to the narrator. I think that might have just been the way that he chose to do it. I don't know. But it kind of dumbed down the book for me. Let me tell you what it's even about. I didn't tell you. Sorry about that. So you're following Percy in his senior year, and you find out that he has to get 3 recommendation letters from 3 different gods, and that he has to do a new quest for each recommendation letter. So already the stakes are a lot lower. I mean, this is like, these books are like preventing war and global disaster, and it's like literally the fate of the world. And then in this new one, it's like, Percy wants to go to college. He needs recommendation letters, you know? So the quest itself just felt like kind of, I mean, it was fun, but there was no real stake to it. And I think that was one of my biggest gripes, was that this kind of felt like a nostalgia cash grab to me, and not like it was really within the tone of Percy Jackson. It didn't feel like his narrative voice, which is something that I talked about in previous clips, that Percy has such a strong narrative voice that it makes it really fun to read from because it's so unique and it is very much him. And in this new book, I was like, this seems like somebody tried to write Percy Jackson but wasn't Rick Riordan. And I'm not saying that he had a ghostwriter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it didn't quite feel like Percy to me. And same with Annabeth. Her character seemed a lot more shallow, and I don't know, it just made it a little less fun to read. So I gave it a 3-star just because it was like, okay. And they're doing 2 more books, so they're adding another 3 books on. Also, it's listed as Percy Jackson number 6, but you cannot pick it up immediately after reading these, because all of the events that take place in the Heroes of Olympus series, which comes after this, have happened. And so if you just pick it up without reading Heroes of Olympus, you won't know what's going on, and you'll be like, wait, what happened? So I think it's silly to call it Percy Jackson number 6, and I honestly don't think that it was really necessary. Now, I think it could have been fun as maybe like a little short story collection. 3 books, short stories of, hey, here's these little 3 fun quests. You get to check in on Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. You get to kind of see how they're doing. You get to see, oh yay, they were in college, you know, they've survived this long, woohoo! But you're not wasting your time on an entire book. And so that made me really like it a lot less, and made me kind of disappointed, because it just felt like nostalgia cash grab. And I will say, I was looking through the reviews, because I was like, the plot wasn't anything spectacular. It was incredibly bland. And the writing seemed really off to me. It didn't seem like these original characters the way that you knew you've grown to love them from these books, right? So I'm like, okay, so why does this have such a strong high average rating? Because let me look. I think it's like a 4 point something. Let me see how many ratings there are, because that, you know, ooh, that does make a difference. Let's see. Okay, there are 28,485 ratings of Chalice of the Gods, and it has a 4.44 average rating. That is incredibly high for Goodreads, and I don't think that's worth it. So I was like, okay, I'm curious, what did people really like about this book? Went through, read the reviews. almost every single positive 5-star review was just saying, oh, this is the nostalgia, this hit me in the feels, oh, I missed these characters, and I'm just going to read anything that Rick Riordan writes about them because I love these characters, and I'm going to give it a 5-star every single time. And so I think that it was less that the book was good, and more that the characters have become such a strong part of a lot of people's lives through the Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus series, that people were just there for the characters and didn't really care about how the book was really written or if it was good, which, of course, good is subjective, right? So, anyway, that is it. The Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. Let me just hold up all of them. Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I do think this was worth the reread. I'm glad that I bought this box set and that I have it. I'm excited for my kids to read these books in the future. I think they're so much fun. I think that there are so many strong aspects to these books, and I am excited to reread Heroes of Olympus. I think I will do that for another one of this childhood rereading series. I don't know when, but I would like to, because these characters are great, and there's just so much fun things, and I think the overarching lessons throughout the entire series are really good ones, and I had a really good time reading this. So was my prediction correct of me loving these? Yeah, absolutely. I knew it would be. I knew I would still love them, and I was right. So yay! I'm glad I did that. I'm glad you were here to join me as I did that. There is a Percy Jackson TV show coming out in December through Disney+. I'm nervous because it's well known in the Percy Jackson circles that the movies were horrible. They were so bad. They did not stick to the material at all, and they were just awful, awful movies. And so, just laughable, you know, just so bad, so bad. And so I'm really nervous about this series, but I hope that it's good, and I'm excited to watch it. And I want to know what you guys think. Are you excited for the series? Are you going to watch the new TV series? Because some people probably won't. But anyway, let me know if you've read these books. This is a classic series. So glad we're here. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!